to this live stream. In today's live stream, I want to talk about what I call the third greatest trick the devil ever pulled. And what I feel is at the heart of why we're still experiencing so many people, or a number of people, unwilling to peel back the surface and actually look at the corruption and watch the documentaries and read the books and accept what many people are talking about in our world. And what I'm referring to is the corruption and collusion that is happening. I've been thinking about this for a while. I think about it all the time. It's like, why are some people still unwilling to look at it? And before I get to the third greatest trick the devil ever pulled, I think there's another reason that is more on the surface level, and they may go hand in hand. But before we get to the third greatest trick, I want to share the overarching kind of combining reason, like it's a dual reason, and that is it sucks. Like it sucks to admit that your world is run by criminals. It sucks to admit that. But what are you going to do? It's like they're not going to stop doing what they're doing just because you know they're run by criminals. And what I always tell people is it'll keep you safe, right? Knowing will keep you safe. Thanks for the thumbs up. I appreciate you. Knowing more knowledge will keep you safe. The other thing I tell people is the reason the CIA and these covert action agencies are as effective as they are is because they have knowledge. They have knowledge, and then of course they have money, right? Knowledge is power. That's why they invest so much to acquire knowledge so that they can, do the things that they do. We'll just leave it at that. So the reason that goes tandem with what I'm going to share with you, the third greatest trick the devil ever pulled, is people don't want to see it. And I think subconsciously they don't want to see that the world is such a super evil place. And I don't think many people, including myself, even fully know the depths of the evil in the world. But the other thing is, the third greatest trick the devil ever pulled is this. This is my assumption. Let me give you a little backstory first. I'm building off of a tweet that I shared. I posted it to my Instagram on March 19th, and the tweet goes like this. It's two quotes. The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist. That's the first quote by Charles Baudelaire. I hope I'm saying that right. Then the second quote in this image is the second greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he is a good guy. That's the second quote here. That's by Ken Ami. But I think the third greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing people that they're too valuable or too important, or let's go with important, because this is, as I flesh this out, I think the devil has convinced people that they're too important. They're so important that no one would ever dare do something to hurt them. This is why I think so many good people got caught up in the BS over the last 4 years, is because especially Americans have this, and I'm an American, so I have this too. We have this almost a self-righteousness or an arrogance about ourselves that, no one would ever dare do anything like that to us, right? No one would ever, we've been a superpower for so long, and we're generations in of this elitism or this exceptionalism or this, we're better than everyone else. And I realize a lot of countries have that, but I think in America it's more profound. And that's one of the reasons why I think so many people got fooled by the people that did whatever they did in the last 4 years. So many people got fooled because they can't wrap their mind around the fact that there's an enemy out there that would ever do something like that to Americans. That's what it looked like to me. And I got to tell you, as I see what's happening, as I saw what unfolded in the last 3 or 4 years, it makes me think a lot about the quote, the Bible verse, the meek shall inherit the earth. The people that knew that their government doesn't give a shit about them, the people that knew that the government doesn't work for them, the people that knew when your government mobilizes all of its forces and says, hey, you're our number one priority, after decades of exploiting them, using their tax dollars to do Lord knows what around the world, lots of heinous things, um, allowing unhealthy ingredients to be put into the foods they eat, not feeling heard or seen at all. After decades of that, all of a sudden the government comes and says, oh my gosh, we're so concerned with your health and well-being. For many, it was a rare red flag. For me, it was a huge red flag. But for some people who maybe have a high opinion of themselves, they thought, well, okay, they care about me because, one, they probably think that they work for them and they really don't. That was a huge awakening for me in a greater way. I've always been skeptical of them. But when I talk about this third greatest trick the devil ever pulled, as I look out into the landscape and I see people that can't even wrap their mind around the fact that their government may not have their best interest at heart. They can't even broach the subject because maybe their whole construct of the world would collapse. I don't know. Surely they must wonder why so many of us in the world are speaking out about this and won't stop speaking out about this until we reach a resolution. Of course, the government's moving full speed ahead. They're already on to the 20th thing. If that was, let's say that was the first thing, on their list of like things to do, they're already moving on to the 20th and the 25th and the 26th. Talk about warp speed. They're moving at warp speed. All of their little pet projects, all the things that they're doing. And for people who are not moving forward, they're like, oh, some of the society's like, oh, let it go. We're like, no, we're never letting it go. It was so traumatic and so it pissed people off so bad that they're like, no, I'm never letting it go. I'm not coming back to be a part of a society that is so indoctrinated that they won't even entertain the idea that their government could be hosing them over. It's super dangerous to be around people that won't even know, that don't even know enough history to know that governments are never to be trusted, that don't even know enough history to know that anytime they, quote, elites come to you and say, hey, I want to help you, that's a huge red flag, right? It's dangerous. And it's also, I feel for people that can't wrap their mind around it, because you know what's going to happen? It's going to happen again. That's just what governments do. And so when I think about the third greatest trick that I'm ruminating on, this idea of pride and arrogance and people that are so into themselves that they cannot even comprehend the fact that their government would even ever attempt to do something like that to them. It's scary. It's scary. And I feel for people like that. And I call it the third greatest trick the devil ever pulled. Granted, the first greatest trick, convincing the world he didn't exist, that's a pretty good trick. That's a pretty good trick. The second greatest trick, according to this gentleman, Ken Ami, is convincing the world that he's a good guy. I haven't seen so much of that one. I haven't seen, although it's out there. But this third greatest trick it's so clear to me as I look back over what happened over the last 3 or 4 years. It's wild. It's just wild. This level of entitlement or this level of exceptionalism. And then right before this video, I was thinking about this idea of pride goes before a fall. I mean, people that are so proud and so, wrapped up in this notion of like, oh, I'm super special. And of course, my government would go out of its way to protect me. Of course, they want to help me, even though there's no evidence of that ever, right? I feel for liberal-minded people more because I think that liberal-minded people have had a greater faith in government than conservatives, to be quite honest. They put a lot more stock in what government says and does, and many of them have had great experiences with government. And I know some liberal people firsthand, and as I see them waking up in a slower way, because I think conservatives, it's easy to wake up and they're like, oh yeah, that confirms it. Government doesn't have my best interest at heart. It's easier for a conservative person to wake up, speaking from my own experience. But I see liberal people, and because so much of their mental construct of the world and the way things are handled in the world and the way government is, it's almost like it would almost be akin to finding out that your parent is a bad guy or has been a bad guy or a bad person. It could cause like a psychological split. I mean, that could seriously mess with a person's psyche. And that's the only thing that I can wrap my mind around. And so I think they have a lot farther to fall, whereas a conservative person, they're always skeptical of government and they're always keep an eye on them. And they know that generally a smaller government is going to be a better government because they don't find government to be efficient. I don't find government to be effective or efficient. And as the information continues to come out about the last 3 or 4 years, them asking for 75 years before they release the documents, them telling the public that it was never tested to stop TRANS, MISSION. It was never tested for that, even though people were forced to get it or you lose your job. That's wild right there. All of the unconstitutional mandates. The fact that people still got ill, even though they got the thing, even though many people in the political sphere, many people in the medical sphere, and also the media sphere told them, if you get the thing, you won't get the COVID. So all of these non-truths that have come out over the last handful of years are chipping away at the propaganda, it's really misinformation is what it is. It's chipping away at this illusion of, oh, we care about you, or, oh, we've got your best interest at heart. They don't. They never have. Some of us have realized it more readily than others, but some aren't grasping it to the full degree. And I'll be sharing another video here shortly, and also some memes on my social media at GMarkPhillips about this bread and circuses. Bread and circuses could potentially be the downfall of humanity, right? An unwillingness to let go of bread and circuses keeps humanity trapped, right? It keeps humanity enslaved in the matrix, so to speak, because so many people have an inability to let that go, even though they know it's distracting us, indoctrinating us, causing a lot of fear potentially in the consciousness of people. Some of the movies coming out of Hollywood are mind-boggling why people even watch that stuff. I tell people, hey, you don't need to watch the fear porn coming out of Hollywood. You just need to watch what's playing out on the stage of the world. There's plenty right there, right? But I think so many of those Hollywood productions are crafted in such a way to elicit a fear response, to elicit anxiety and tension, and also keep people warring with one another. I deliberately didn't watch the what was it, the Obama's movie, Leave the World Behind. I deliberately didn't watch that because I'm done. I'm done with Hollywood after the last number of years. And after you finally, when you start, what happens is, and maybe you can experience, maybe you've experienced this too. When then I get to your comment, and hang tight. What happens when you wake up to one thing, it cracks the matrix, everything else starts to fall apart too. And then you realize, it's it's all a lie. Falsus unus, falsus optimus. Writers have vanished and good stories hard to come by. It is hard to come by. But then I sometimes wonder, did they vanish or were they vanished, so to speak? I mean, I'm of the mindset now that I know there are probably good writers out there, I really do, but I'm of the mindset now that it could be a 100% CIA operation. I don't know. All these movies seem super sketch. They seem like indoctrination. They seem like they say, they look like they're fear porn. It looks like they're predictive programming. I don't see a lot of redeeming things coming out of Hollywood. There are some Christian things coming out of Hollywood, but even then, I'm a little bit sketch. The writer's strike various times. Yeah, so that writer's strike, that was that 2022, 2023. And I know there were probably there's a lot of things that I don't know about that. Now we have who stuck around and yes, are easy to control. Ooh, that's a great point. That's a great point. Just like during COVID times, right? Whoever stuck around and put up with it, they're the go-to people that are going to do what they're told the next time it happens. And they got rid of the policemen that weren't going to take the BS, the firemen that weren't going to put up with the BS, the doctors, the nurses, the teachers. They got rid of all the people in the system. The system. That's a great comment. Yeah, easier to control. Oh. And I don't know. I know there was some AI things going on too, potentially AI, or maybe the writers were striking because they could see the potential impending doom for their future. And because I know Hollywood's probably looking at AI to write scripts or regurgitate scripts, and they probably are looking at, I know they're looking at it to replace actors and actresses. I don't know. AI does seem to be a potential game changer, but the more I look at these scripts, they're so, many of them are so dark and they're so distracting and they're so, hey, look how many ships have now crashed into things after the Leave the World Behind. The one in Baltimore, there was one in Turkey, and there was one other one, but I don't know where that other one is. Like, you can't make this stuff up. And I hadn't heard of any cargo ship crashing into anything in my whole entire lifetime. Maybe I'm just, the ship got stuck in the canal, the Suez Canal a couple of years ago. That was a factor, an interesting scenario. I don't know. It's sketch to me, but that's what I think that the third greatest trick the devil ever pulled is, people convinced that the government cares for them. And then it's like, I just worry for them, and I just hope and pray for them every day, because it puts people in a precarious situation where your guard is so down and your spidey sense is so not tuned in that you're willing to let a bad actor, so to speak, into your house and or give you advice without even thinking about it, So that's what I wanted to share with you. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for your comments. All good stuff. I appreciate that. Leave me a thumbs up if you like this live stream. I'd love to have you as a subscriber anywhere on social media at GMarkPhillips, or of course here on my YouTube channel. More content coming down the line about the events that are unfolding in our world. Until next time, I wish you all the best health, wealth, and success. Have an awesome day. Bye-bye.